Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. During public comment at the Lake Lemon Conservancy District Board meeting, District 6 resident Steve Langford said that he does not think residents should have to pay the $10 park entrance fee.
Earlier in the summer, I took my granddaughter to the park, and I had to pay a $10 fee to come in. Now, if I'd have came by boat, it would have been for free. And I paid taxes, I paid dock fees. You know, I'm thinking, is there any way we can get a card? I told the guy I'm a freeholder, and he's like, $10. And she's, a year old, and it was just a little bit on the swing, and I was gone. So I don't know if we can do something about that.
Chairman Mary Jane Brown said that they can discuss it, but it was the first time they have heard that comment. District 7 resident Rebecca Baugh said she was frustrated with the board's decisions.
I'm very frustrated with the resolution that's being submitted, and one of the questions that I brought up to myself was, if you have 20 years from now use the overflow for a fill-in for the sedimentation, why would I want to be a member of Lake Lemon Conservancy anymore? So do I have a choice of withdrawing as a freeholder in Lake Lemon?
Board members said that it would not be possible to withdraw unless she went to court. The next commenter, Sarah Gale Tala, disagreed with Baugh and recommended that they add a parking lot after they finish the dredging project so that people would no longer have to park on the causeway.
Going what the last person said, I want to say the opposite. I grew up at a lake 8 miles from Washington, D.C. We had 7 miles of shoreline, little Y-shaped lake. We had 1,000 houses. Very few were on the water, and we are all a part of that lake. I think we should be adding people to the lake that want to be on it. I think there's a lot of possibilities if everybody be a little bit more open-minded, and I think that some of you weren't even on the board when we've talked about this a long time ago, because there used to be all these people that rented camping spots along Riddle Point on the far side. There could be docks along there, and people that live on Tunnel Road, if they want to join the lake, they could have a dock along the Riddle Point west side of the point, and that would add to our tax base and maybe add to some people that might contribute more money. But it just seems like it's such a small group of people at the lake compared to what our needs are.
District Manager Adam Casey gave a report on how this year's fireworks show went. He said that the show was a success and that it raised more money than in years past.
It definitely seemed to be the proper way to go to charge folks coming into the park instead of just donations. Last year we had about $8,300 total in donations between the freeholders and day of cash donations. This year to date we've brought in just over $14,000. 8,350 day of between the cash and credit card donations that we have there. So we well covered that. If anything, next year we're gonna have to, we had so many people come, we're gonna have to maybe look at reducing the amount of cars that we let into the park and parking. We did have sheriffs there this year, and we actually had to turn people away well before the show started because cars were backed all the way up to South Shore Drive on Tunnel Road. So there's going to be a little bit more planning that goes into that, but overall it was great to bring that money in, and nobody batted an eye at the $20 a vehicle, so I think it was a really good.
Did you have a problem clearing out the beach at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, it was the most brazen, pushy crowd I think we have ever had as far as keeping people back behind the fire lines, just pushing out into the field. I mean, it was nonstop, and that's why either reducing the viewing areas that we have or potentially closing the beach just for that day maybe something that we have to look at just so there's not cars there initially. But I think people forgot how to behave for a while, so we were working a lot more than we anticipated. But overall it was a good day, successful. The Boy Scouts came out the next morning and cleaned up the park, and so it's always thankful to have them, and it was good.
Casey also gave an update on the dredging project.
So really looking at our historical and then potential future dredging analysis. So the first figure that we have is showing the total yardage that we removed between LLCD paid and private. You can see almost 160,000 yards that we removed since 2006, 157, 100. It's to be expected that District 6 and 7 have the most. As Malcolm said, that is the first delta. It's where the creek slows down at. It's where sediment falls. It is acting as a sediment capture basin, just naturally the way it happens, because where the creek comes in, as soon as you have that reduction in velocity, everything settles out there. Well, approximately 30% is what we found from the last sediment transport study. But as that delta gets shallower and smaller, what you have is that same amount of sediment, at least, if not increasing, as we've kind of seen through the years, going into a smaller and smaller basin. So if we do let that area, if we don't keep it deep, essentially you're making the bowl smaller, so that rate of filling in increases, which is why it is critical to keep that first basin open and deep to act as a sediment capture.
At the Bloomington Historic Preservation Commission meeting on July 28th, Historic Preservation Program Manager Gloria Colombrana shared a petition for solar panels on a house in the Prospect Hill Historic District. Staff recommended the project for approval since the panels would not be visible from the street. Colombrana read the recommendation from neighbors and staff.
Patrick Murray wrote, I have reviewed the proposal for solar panels at 521 West 4th Street. I believe this is a good project not only environmentally, but the placement of the panels is on the roof surfaces that are generally not visible from the street. In addition, there are several other houses in the historic district and immediate neighborhood that have been approved for solar panels. I am recommending approval, and Jeff Golden and Richard Lewis also recommended.
All right.
And here's new information. Staff recommends approval for COA 22-59. The Greater Prospect Hill Historic District guidelines do not address sustainability initiatives such as solar panels. However, the proposed panel does comply with the policies regarding public way facade, with only a minimal portion visible from Jackson Street due to their location on the back of the accessory structure. The Neighborhood Construction Subcommittee supports the project.
The commission approved the petition unanimously. Next, the commission heard a request to add onto a house at 208 East 16th Street in the Garden Hill Historic District. Owner of Rogers Remodeling, Noah Rogers, said that the house is on a small lot, so there is little room to add on with the 15-foot setbacks.
I had spoken with the city planning changer, what is her name, Lisa, that we have been speaking with.
Karina.
What was it?
Karina,
correct. We have been speaking with her about the variance, trying to get a variance because the lot is only 50 foot wide, and she has to have 15-foot setbacks for the second floor. So if we were to do 15-foot setbacks on each side of the lot, she doesn't really have anything at all to build on. So I was really surprised that they said they would deny the variance. But if we were to put an apartment building there, I guarantee you they would have gave us the variance.
Petitioner Lisa Freeman spoke, asking the commissioners to support her.
yeah, I would appreciate that recommendation. If I, do choose to go that path, it would be nice to have that backing. Otherwise, it'll give me options. I really love the first design.
Exactly.
But again, I just need to kind of weigh everything in timing. But that would be wonderful if I could get the HBC backing for that.
Commission members approved the add-on with support for the variance unanimously. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would being able to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
Welcome back to CATSweek. Health Administrator Lori Kelly gave an update on COVID-19 at the Monroe County Commissioners meeting on July 27th.
So just a few updates. COVID cases have been fluctuating up and down for the past 5 days. The CDC community level is low. The health department and the public health clinic have free tests available. The public health clinic has vaccines for all ages. An appointment can be made by calling 812-353-3244.
Commissioner Penny Giffens asked her if there was anything they might need to know about monkeypox, since she heard that the United States has the most cases of any country in the world. Kelly responded, saying that the state is prepared for an outbreak.
Yes, I can speak to that. So we are working closely with the state. This includes testing and vaccination. We do have procedures in place for those needs. My team is in place and we are ready to respond.
Prosecutor and president of the Substance Use Disorder Awareness Commission, Erica Oliphant, gave the annual report on the commission's progress. Oliphant said that in 2021, they hosted 2 Lunch and Learn educational webinars.
First, in August of 2021, we brought Robert Suarez to give a presentation titled Substance Use in America, Connecting the Dots. Mr. Suarez is the Director of Outreach and Community Advocacy at North Carolina Urban Survivors Union in Greensboro, North Carolina. And that organization works to build power among low-income people impacted by drug use. So this was an hour-long webinar-style presentation focused on ending the stigma of substance use disorder. In December of 2021, we partnered with the Responding to the Addictions Crisis Grand Challenge and the IU Center for Rural Engagement to present a panel called Substance Use Disorder in Rural Indiana. We did have a moderator, April Tuller, who is the Executive Director of Research Communications at IU, and featured 3 panelists, Cass Botts from Healthy Hoosier Communities at IU Center for Rural Engagement, Brea Perry, Associate Vice Provost for Social Science Research at IU, and Andrea D. Janota, who's the Director of IUPUI Echo Center and Center for Public Health Practice at IU Richard M. Fairbanks School of Public Health at IUPUI. So this hour-long webinar-style presentation provided a conversation about the impact of stigma, barriers to treatment, harm reduction strategies, and building resilience in our communities. So we are continuing that practice in 2022 of hosting lunch and learn opportunities.
Oliphant also shared that they wrote a letter to the Bloomington office of the mayor regarding Seminary Park communications.
In December of 2020, we sent a letter to the mayor's office in response to Mayor John Hamilton's official statement regarding the removal of people camping in Seminary Park. Essentially, we were taking issue with language that implied that syringes are dangerous to those who are using the park. And we asked that the mayor's office more carefully word future communications to avoid contributing to stigmatization of people in our community.
Oliphant said that they will host a lunch with Sam Quinones on August 30th at 11:30 a.m. for anyone interested in learning more. Next, the commissioners approved a grant received by the Health Department from the Indiana Department of Health. Administrator Lori Kelly said the grant is to help lower Indiana's elevated blood lead level threshold.
Yes, so the Indiana Department of Health has awarded these funds to the Health Department. This is to help in lowering Indiana's elevated blood lead level threshold. This does include case management and environmental services.
Githens commented that the grant will have long-term benefits.
I've been in touch with Ms. Kelly about some of this, that it looks like it covers 24 different households, which while they may identify one child as having elevated blood levels or lead levels, that this would benefit any other child in the home and also benefit any other future family that lives in that particular housing. So I think it's got more than just the immediate effect that would occur in the next 2 years, but I'm glad to see this.
The commissioners approved the grant unanimously. And we'll have more Cats Week after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me.
But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
There for me, every day.
believing in me,
Showing me what's possible,
I can be strong enough to respect myself and my body.
to say I can rather than I can't,
to say no with no apology,
To be a leader.
to finish school,
to own my future.
to break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment. Building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime. Girls Inc. gives girls the tools they need to boldly face challenges, to resist peer pressure, to be the first in their families to go to college, to beat the odds. With Girls Inc. in her corner, every girl can be healthy, confident, and resilient. She'll do more than dream about her potential. She'll reach it.
With you in my corner,
With you in my corner,
I will not be another statistic. I will fight for myself.
For my future.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc. Inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
Welcome back to Cats Week. During public comment on July 26th at the Monroe County Community School Corporation Board meeting, Tabitha Crouch shared her concerns with safety for students in schools and asked the board to put the issue on their agenda.
I pulled up because I'm curious as to how this agenda is determined and how we can go months about with public comment on a specific subject and we still don't address it. So according to your Board of Trustees protocols, in the effective meeting section, items can be placed on the agenda by the superintendent, the president, or through a request by any two board members. I'm asking you, put this back on the agenda. Let's talk about our student safety. We know that there are guns in our school. Let's figure out how to solve that problem.
Later, Deputy Superintendent Dr. Mark A. Winston asked the board to approve the Bloomington Graduation School Grade Addition.
we are making a recommendation to reconfigure Bloomington Graduation School to add 7th and 8th grade. This would allow us to be able to more completely meet the needs of our middle school students who are going to learn virtually this upcoming school year. We ask that you please accept this recommendation as presented.
MCCSC Superintendent Jeff Oswald explained why he believes the approval is necessary.
This was just for some of our virtual learning capacity. We already had teachers at BGS that were able to meet some subject-specific needs for just a very small number of our middle school kids for next year. However, the DOE basically cited that we could not do that unless we officially allowed 7th and 8th graders to receive instruction from BGS. So it's a really minor thing, but we are required to record that in the minutes in order to do that. And what that does is if we have 2 students that need math at one of our middle schools and we have the ability to do that, that allows us to offload those 2 students to create an extra period so that our other class sizes aren't as big at one of those schools. So it's just a technical piece, but the DOE requires it in order to do that.
The board approved the request unanimously. On July 25th, at the Ellettsville Town Council meeting, an Envision Ellettsville representative presented an agreement with TSWDG for an on-call program administration and technical support.
When we did the Envision Ellettsville plan, there's a section that deals with, how do we start to implement these things? And so there was the group went through a process of developing different task forces, trying to figure out how to start to advance some of those things, which was great. It's probably one of the more aggressive types of implementation, which is great to see in the community because it means that there's passionate people that are willing to work to really make things come to fruition. So this doesn't become just a document, that sits on a shelf somewhere. The group that put this together, though, as you all know, they're volunteers. And so once they started to think about how this was going to come together, I think somebody probably said, well, now how do we do this? And so what we've done is we've developed a mechanism to help organize and to facilitate the ongoing work that these different task force and volunteer groups are going to be doing for the community. So if we could go to the next slide. If you recall at the last meeting, what we introduced to you was the idea that all of this work would be handled in a 2-process system. So basically the first thing that you did was you reviewed and you approved a master agreement. So we laid out the terms of the relationship saying, as my company works forward on any of these projects with the town, these are the contractual conditions. There were no dollar amounts assigned, none of that. The way that we handle the specific work items is through a series of task orders. So under a master agreement, you could have 500 task orders, or you could have 0 task orders and nothing ever comes of it. All that master agreement did was define the relationship, and you did approve that at the last meeting. And then we began to present some of the task orders at that meeting that we wanted to discuss for implementation. So if we can go to the next slide. We can go to the next one. So this is what was presented at the last meeting. We looked at the master agreement, we looked at task order number 1, and task order number 1 is an hourly task order. It is to assist in facilitating these task forces and keeping the Envision Ellettsville implementation process moving.
Town manager Mike Farmer said that the cost of the program would be worth it to help keep the task forces organized.
To have it available is the most important thing to me. Whether we use it, obviously as town manager, I'm always interested in not spending our money, but due to the process of growing, money is what we're going to spend. So I think I need help organizing the task force. I know we need to be talking about transportation because 5 or 10 years from now is going to be here tomorrow. And I think a business task force is indeed, we should be organizing that first based on growth possibilities in the future, and maybe we'll miss on some revenue streams, say like a TIF or something like that, and we need to flesh those out, bring them to you so you can yay or nay them and maybe work through the process. But right now we need to be organized and we need to have functional meetings, and I think that's what this is about.
The representative explained why they chose the $60,000 cap.
The way that we estimated the cap for this was we estimated that all 6 task forces would be working concurrently for 1 year. And we did that. The reason that we kind of capped it at that year-long amount was simply you don't want me up here talking to you every $10,000 trying to explain to you that you've got to approve something else. So we were trying to find that spot where you still felt like you were getting direct control without this just being spent without any oversight, but yet trying to make it so that you didn't have to provide that oversight every month.
Farmer explained that the city is understaffed, which makes it difficult to manage Ellettsville's growing population and town planning needs.
You know, we have 2 people on staff at planning. Next year we propose 4, and so we're understaffed and we're in a high growth rate in our town. So this supplements our planning department, and I keep telling the department heads at our budget meetings right now, we're a town with a 5-calf feeder and we have 6 calves. So I'm not interested in spending money willy-nilly. We have too many important things to do with it. So I'll be keeping my thumb on, you know, what's going on, and the progress will be reported to the board. And we're not interested in saying, hey, let's go spend $60,000. Like Ron said, it was a limit. I mean, if we can get away with $30,000, that's what I want to spend. And that sounds like a lot of money to me. But if what we are going to try to succeed in, if our goals are met, then hopefully anybody that's interested in the town's growth and how we grow and become a complete town, I hopefully they'll go, boy, that's money well spent.
The council approved the agreement between the town of Ellettsville and TSWDG unanimously. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.